Hello, welcome back to another Pursuing God's Heart Yourself. We are in the book of Psalms and just taking one principle each day and a psalm. We're kind of working through the early psalms, but that's just because they're there. I mean, it's not, there's nothing strategic about that other than hopefully launching us all into reading and enjoying the book of Psalms during the coming days and weeks. And so the principle that I want us to think about is the principle that we should look to see how the passage we're reading applies to our lives. Application. It's not enough just to look at a passage and learn, even if what you're learning is good stuff and helpful. We need to think about what difference it makes to us. So here we are thinking about Psalm 5. Okay, Psalm 5 begins to the choir master for the flutes. A psalm of David. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my groaning. Give attention to the sound of my cry, my King and my God. For to you do I pray. O Lord, in the morning you hear my voice. In the morning I prepare a sacrifice for you and watch. And so David here is referencing the fact that every day he starts off in prayer. He comes to God to kind of sacrifice and worship and so on. It's introductory, right? Not just this is the introduction to the psalm, but prayer is really introductory to his day. He goes to God first. I want us to look at the next 3-4 verses, and you'll see in this next little bit a hint of what it is that he's asking God to hear. What is it that he's groaning about? It's, again, enemies, people that are against him. But look at the contrast within these 4 verses. I've squeezed it slightly to get it on the screen. For you are not a God who delights in wickedness. Evil may not dwell with you. The boastful shall not stand before your eyes. You hate all evildoers. You destroy those who speak lies. The Lord abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. Here he's describing the enemies, the sinners that are against him. And so all these words kind of piling up: wickedness and evil and boastful, evildoers, those who speak lies. The Lord abhors the bloodthirsty, deceitful. A whole load of negatives, right? These are sinful kind of descriptions. And the whole of that is kind of wrapped up with this bit here. These people will not stand before God's eyes. They don't get to dwell with him. They don't get to be there. He is a destroyer. He hates this kind of evil and sin. But then you get this contrast in verse 7. But I. In contrast to them, these evil people not standing, he says, I enter your house. I bow down. Now notice what he says in verse 7. He does not say, but I, through the abundance of my righteous behavior, through the goodness that I managed to manufacture in life, enter into your house. No, he says, but I, through the abundance of your steadfast love. That's how David can have confidence before God. It's not because he himself is better at performing kind of human living. It's because he recognizes that it's by God's loyal love towards him, God's steadfast, faithful love to him, that he is able to enter into God's house. And so he says, I will bow down toward your holy temple. The word temple there is a word that can also mean tabernacle. This is in David's time. The temple hadn't been built yet, but towards your house, towards the tabernacle, in the fear of you. And so we've got this contrast between standing, and they don't get to stand, and bowing down. This is the right approach to God. If we're going to think about coming to God at the start of the day, well, here's a good contrast for us to think about, to ponder. Am I presuming upon God? Am I coming to God with some of this stuff in my life? It doesn't fit, doesn't belong, and I can't come arrogantly to God. The reality is, through the abundance of his steadfast love, we can come to God every day. What a blessing we have, totally undeserved. But the posture in which we come is not an arrogant standing. It's a very humble bowing down, a prostrating before him. I wonder if maybe that might be a helpful application. Maybe first thing tomorrow when you come to God in prayer, maybe just get down on your face and recognize who he is and who you are and how it is that you are able to approach him. It's not based on anything you've done. It's based completely on his character, his heart towards you. Now, we're not going to walk our way through the rest of the psalm in terms of every word, but notice what flows out from this. Verse 8, he says, lead me, O Lord. Come down to verse 10, he says, make them bear their guilt, O God, let them fall. So there's again that contrast between the one who is righteous by God's grace and those who are arrogant and boastful, and the consequences of that. And the fruit, I suppose you could say at the end of the psalm, verse 11, but let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may exult in you. For you bless the righteous, O Lord. You cover him with favor as with a shield. And so there you have it, Psalm 5, contrast between the righteous and the wicked, but it's not the righteous by behavior, it's the righteous by God's grace. By God's goodness, by God's kindness to us, we can have joy, we can be protected, we can exult in God, we can worship, and it all starts from that position of humility, that position of bowing down, prostrate before our God. What a privilege we have. And by way of application, let's ask God to show us if there's anything in us that doesn't fit, and to help us to have that attitude, that we would come before him with the humility that is entirely appropriate for sinners like you and me, coming before a holy God like him.